read my letter to the old folks and tell them I love them. And tell my brothers to always be watching unto prayer. And when the good old ship Zion comes along, be ready to step on board. Steal away, steal away, steal away to Jesus. Steal away, steal away. I've not got long to freedom. My Lord, He calls me by the thunder. The trumpet sounds within my heart. I've not got long to stay here. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm getting called all over, and I'm always glad to tell you what's going on with the abolitionists, with slavery. The last time I was able to conduct the Underground Railroad was about a month after Abraham Lincoln was elected president. The South was saying they were going to pull away from the Union, break away. I knew I needed to get down to Maryland. More of my family wanted to get out of slavery. Other folks too, and I was itching to help them. But my abolitionist friends, William Seward, Secretary of State, Frederick Douglass, and Susan B. Anthony told me it was too dangerous. Then I went. I went down because I heard about this family. The husband and wife had 3 children in Maryland. One was 6, one was 4, and one was a little baby, 3 months old. I was bound to get them. I had to get them. When we were traveling out of Maryland, we came upon these 2 people, husband and wife, trying to find the Underground Railroad. I took them along with us. We got into Wilmington and were helped by Thomas Garrett, who always helped me when I came through. He was a station manager. He would make sure we had shoes. Some of us had worn our shoes down off our feet. He would hide us under the floors in his house. And when it was time for us to move on, he helped us get a carriage or wagon. We hid under, and the driver got us all the way to Chester County, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is where we were trying hard to get. It was dangerous though. He wrote a letter ahead and told William Still we were coming, and they were so worried about us. He gave me $10 to pay the driver. When we got into Pennsylvania and William Still was there along with many, many other abolitionists, They were so frightened for us to stay long, especially for me. The Fugitive Slave Act made it legal for, even though we were in the north, in Pennsylvania, we could be quickly grabbed by some slave catchers and taken back. I couldn't read, but they told me about the posters that were up. Big money for my head, wanted dead or alive. They rushed us up to New York. When we got up into the area of Rochester, Frederick Douglass said we couldn't stay. He said we had to go. He knew about the dangers. All the people in the Underground Railroad were so helpful. There were white people and black people. There were people who risked their lives for us, although we were just so poor and so much wanting to get away from slavery. We went on into Canada. You know, when we got across the river, the Niagara, that's what, we got across the Niagara River. We got to the middle of it. We were no longer in the United States. And there was this tradition that people would sing. We made this song about headed on to Canada, where there was no slavery. People would shout for joy when we got to the middle of the river. Sometimes we'd be going over a bridge on the train. I had to stay there for a while. I've been buked and I've been scorned. I've been buked and I've been scorned. Children, I've been buked and I've been scorned. I've been talked about, sure as you're born. There is trouble all over this world. There's trouble all over this world. There is trouble all over this world. There is trouble all over this world. When the army, the Union Army, started down to protect Washington, D.C. from the Confederacy, they were thinking about taking over. I decided to follow. I left Canada and I decided to follow. Well, the abolitionists weren't too happy. I really wanted to do another Underground Railroad run, but I had to settle for following the Union Army. As we went down, I would run to the plantations to rally those people who had been enslaved for so long. They didn't really know what to do. I told them to run to the Union Army and follow them, and that the Union Army would protect them and they would be free. I did that for quite a while. And then as things were looking strong for the Union Army, I went back up to New York to see about my parents. I had brought my parents up to freedom, over the line to freedom in the late 50s. They were quite old. My friends, Susan B. Anthony, William Stewart and his wife, Frederick Douglass, they were all helping to take care of my family and all the other people who had come to my house, because I had told people along the way, if you ever need help, after they were free, just stop by and I would try to help them. Well, I had no money to help. I went out doing domestic work. I went out speaking, but I still didn't have enough. Here, I get a message from Governor Andrew in Massachusetts for me to come, wanted to talk to me. He was an abolitionist. He was asking me if I would go down to Beaufort, Hilton Head, and into that area of South Carolina to help the Union Army. You see, all those folks who were now free and had run to the protection of the Union Army were in a mess. What would they eat? Where would they live? Who was going to help them to get jobs? What was going to go on with the rest of their lives? They needed some reconstruction. They were sick, many of them. Many of them had been hiding out in the marshes, in the woods for a long time, wondering if it would be safe to run to the Union Army. There was smallpox, there were fevers, there was dysentery, and I was supposed to help them. When I first got there, they laughed at me whenever I would go to talk to them because they couldn't understand what I was saying. I didn't speak the same language they spoke. They were from the low country, mostly, of South Carolina, and they had kept a form of African language. But after a while, we were able to communicate, and I acted as a go-between between the generals and what was going on with these newly freed people. I was given $200 when I first got there. So I thought it was for me to help these newly freed people. And one way I thought I could help was to have a small shack built and set up a washing tub and bring the women in and show them how to do a washing business, show them how to make pies and that they could sell to the soldiers, show them how to clean, tried to help prepare them for when they were going to be on their own. Then the generals called me. General Stevens was one of the first ones I was assigned to. And he called me along with the other generals to tell me they wanted me to be a scout, and they wanted me to be a spy, and they wanted me to be a soldier, to go into the lines behind where the Confederacy was. And so then I started doing that. They assigned me some Negro soldiers to go with me, and I taught them how to spy and how to scout, and we were able to burn down bridges, blow up bridges really, and burn down the cotton farms, the cotton fields, and to scare the Confederacy. Their armies had small camps around. We routed them and scared them to go back further in. We did such a good job. We took several $1,000s worth of belongings and property. When we got back there, they had more for me to do. They assigned me to a wonderful man, young man, abolitionist, he joined the army, and his name was Montgomery, Colonel Montgomery. Colonel Montgomery had 150 black soldiers, and I was supposed to lead them in behind the enemy lines and do some burning of the plantations, and I had a musket. I was shooting a musket along with them. I was doing whatever needed to be done. The Negro soldiers were so brave. They wanted to show that they deserved freedom, and they would go anywhere, do whatever we told them to do. I was so proud of them. We also went from the Coombe River, up the Coombe River. The Coombe River in South Carolina had beautiful plantations on either side. I have to chuckle sometimes when I think back because we ran to the plantations and I would sing a song about Father Abraham was going to give them all a house and how they were now free and to run to the boat. And we had all these destroyer boats. The destroyer boats were overloaded with these people. In the end, it was more than 700 people who ran for freedom. Sometimes I was chuckling because some of the women would not only have a child on their skirt, they would have a child on their shoulder. They were running, and the colonel would tell me to sing a song when it got so it was too many people. And when the song got to hallelujah, I would raise my hands and reach for the sky, and so would the people. When they raised their hands to reach for the sky, they let go of the boats that they were holding back trying to climb on, and that's when the colonel could give the word for them to pull off the boats. They had to send more boats over to get more people. Kind of reminded me of the River Jordan. After the war was over, I had such difficulty getting a pension. Most people got a pension, but for some reason, because of the way I got pulled into the war, it's been 30 years now. My friends, including Secretary of State, there are thousands and thousands of people who have signed petitions, and I still haven't been able to get a pension. I married a man, my second husband, with whom I fought in battle. His name was Nelson Davis. He was dying of tuberculosis, and I married him so I could take care of him. He had an $8 pension, and that's what we used. When he died, I've been continuing on and hoping for the best. God has been with me and told me which way to go with each step I took. And I trust in God. Ride on, King Jesus. No man can hinder me. Ride on, King Jesus. Ride on. No man can hinder me. King Jesus rides a milk-white horse. No man can hinder me. The river Jordan he did cross. No man can hinder me. Ride on, King Jesus. No